Hello there guys, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm back with another review. And again I'll be covering the Season 5 tell-all for 90 Day Fiance Season 5 Happily Ever After. And it's the one you've all been waiting for. We're going to talk about Tanya and Syngin. We find out the name of Syngin's soulmate. It's a beer. Just before we begin, don't forget to press that red subscribe button, make Ebird a very happy Ebird, and subscribe for regular videos. And also please, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to click the like button. And so without further ado, for what will almost certainly be the final time, I give you Tanya and Syngin. So we start out this segment and for some reason, Sean wants to talk about Syngin's messy hair. He runs his hands through the unkempt mess a few more times and says, "The more stressed out I am, the more I play with my hair." Tanya smiles. Tanya, your husband looks scruffy, as if nobody owns him. That reflects as badly on you as it does on him. And then Sean asked what's it like being back in America, as if she doesn't know. And Syngin said, "It's hella cold after being in South Africa. In Connecticut it's virtually 9 months of winter, and it's no good." And then Sean asked, "Are you working?" "Yep, I'm working full-time, I work as a server." Angela's Tourette's kicks in once more, and she shouted out, "I'd give you a $20 tip." "Here's a tip for you, Angela. Shut the F up." Again, it's very clear she's just trying to make Michael jealous. "You won't do it, Angela, because God gave Michael the gift of sight, and with that gift, he can see that nobody is interested in flirting with you." And Sean starts her boring questions. "How are you getting on with Tanya?" And Syngin says, "Well, it's okay, but we have a lot of differences." And so memory lane takes us back to the dinner party from hell, where she screamed at Syngin in front of his family for 45 minutes, stormed out, stormed back in, took her dinner, and stormed out again to eat it in peace, in her bed. And then we see the two of them meeting up with his friends. You remember, the ones who disliked Tanya even more than Ebird. And then Sean asked, "How has the lockdown been affecting you?" She seems to be asking this to everybody, and it's entirely boring because we literally don't care. And Syngin said, "It's added pressure. Sometimes we argue so much, I have to stay in the spare room." And then Tanya conceded, "Yeah, with all the tension we have toxic arguments. We say really mean things to each other." And Syngin said, "We don't have a healthy marriage at the moment and we need to figure out if we're even meant to be." And Sean said, "What, you're actually discussing divorce?" "Sean, please don't act surprised. My only surprise is that they're still together." And so when she asks about divorce, both Tanya and Syngin pussyfoot around the question, and there's a very pregnant pause. And then Sean said, "What were your last 3 arguments about?" And Tanya blurted out, "Drinking, drinking and drinking." And Syngin said, "We're arguing about drinking, but I think I'm absolutely fine. I'm not missing work, I'm not getting up late for work, there's no problem." And Tanya said it's a very sensitive subject for Syngin and is not being honest with you about it. And Syngin said, "Tanya, you're telling the world that I'm a screaming, raging alcoholic." And Tanya said, "I don't think that you're an alcoholic. Tanya, you could have fooled me. You've been saying this for months now, and you've had us all believing it." So the truth be told, I have a feeling that Syngin is an alcoholic. But as we all know, alcoholics come in many guises, and so it's not just the type of person that gets up every morning and has to have a drink to stop the DTs. But I think Syngin's more of a party boy alcoholic, and more of an alcoholic that drinks of an evening and thinks, "Oh, it's just a few beers," but really it's probably about 10 beers. And I think that he doesn't stop until literally he's falling to sleep. This season we have quite often heard him drink until he's absolutely slurring. So I think unfortunately it seems there is some validity in what Tanya says. But Syngin said, "Nope, that's South African culture. We drink a lot." And Tanya said, "I have a Latin culture. We drink a lot as well." Syngin's problem is he doesn't know when to stop. And Syngin said, "I don't drink when I'm stressed out. I just like a cold beer from time to time." And Tanya said, "We always argue when you're drunk." And Syngin said, "Tanya, we always argue, whether I'm sober or drunk, and I make Syngin right." And then Tanya alludes to a big drunken secret that she won't say because it's too embarrassing for Syngin. Syngin said, "Don't mind, just say it anyway," but she won't. And I wonder what it is. What is there out there that's more embarrassing than Tanya? It's all starting to get just a little bit boring, but then to perk up proceedings, enter Syngin's 2 friends, the founding members of the Tanya Haters Club, and they waste no time in establishing, "Syngin, are you working?" "Yes, I am." And "Syngin, do you have any drinking issues? Is it affecting your work?" And he said, "Nope, no it's not." And then Tanya screamed out, "Oh my God, he has got a problem. He couldn't even get a work permit because of his drinking." Now when the Ebird hears this, I think, wow, that must be pretty serious. I didn't even know that they tested you for alcohol when they're going to give you a green card. But then Syngin explains that he was drunk in a bar a couple of years ago and one of his old bosses gave him a bad reference. And so when the US authorities called up, he told them of an incident when he was drunk at work, and they denied his visa just for that, and it's typical Tanya to exaggerate. So it wasn't for drinking per se, it was for having a bad reference. And then Colt asked Syngin, would you give up drinking to save your marriage? And Syngin said without hesitation, nope. I really enjoy cold beer, and if that bugs Tanya, I need to just meet someone who says that I'm not an alcoholic, and his friends guffaw and chuckle with laughter. To be fair, Colt, it's a little bit of a loaded question because the alcohol isn't their only problem, they have multiple problems. But I have got a feeling that the alcohol takes the edge off the problems for Syngin. And it's time for another trip down memory lane. And we revisit the drinking session when they all shit-talk Tanya. And we hear them saying, why did you marry Tanya? Why Tanya? And Syngin said, it was good sex. I was in a lust bubble. I only had 90 days to marry. I guess I'm happy, but I could be happier. And I have to say for poor Tanya, that must be really hard to hear. And Sean read my mind because she said, Tanya, what was it like to hear that? And Tanya said, well, I admit we were both in lust. And I gotta say, hats off to Tanya because she's holding it together very well in the face of his friends hating on her incessantly. And Sean asked them if Syngin had changed, and they said it was fantastic seeing him again, but he was a little more tense than he was before. He used to be more free-spirited and relaxed. He was more open-minded. Really, boys, if he were any more open-minded, his brains would fall out the back of his bloody skull. And they said he'd always take life with a grain of salt, plus a slice of lemon and 3 shots of tequila. No, only a joke, they didn't say that. And so then they talk over the story of Tanya moving in, and they say she came in and she took over, and she was telling us what to do in our own home. Tanya brushes this aside as if it was nothing, and she said moving furniture around, you only had spice racks, there was nothing to move. And Sean asked the guys, what do you think the problem is? And the boys say, Tanya, you rushed in too fast. You never stopped to think, what am I doing? And Sean said, do you think that Tanya's the right person? And so then one of his friends said, I would like to bat that question back to Tanya. But Syngin jumped in and answered for her. He said, no, not really. And they said, no, we want Tanya to answer. And Tanya lied, yes, I think we're right for each other. And she explains that she wants to keep on moving, although unfortunately they're moving in an unspecified direction. In fact, now I take that back, I can specify. They're regressing, they're moving backwards. And the boys tell Shane they will only work out if they really try at it, and they're not sure if they're soulmates. And Syngin says, if we never got married, we'd have been broken up by now. I don't want to waste any more time going through therapy. We need to work out what's going on and then work out what we're going to do. I think another year seems like a really long time. And Tanya said, yes, it is. We've got to evaluate this in probably 6 months at the most. Oh, Tanya, be quiet now. You know the Ebird doesn't like agreeing with you. And that's where this segment ends. So what do I make of it all? I think it's fair to say Tanya had pretty much of a rough ride. Mind you, it could have been worse. His mum, dad, sister or brother could have turned up. On balance, I think she did exceedingly well to maintain her composure. It must be quite difficult to have your husband sitting there, saying that if you didn't get married, you would have split up already. In some ways, Tanya's the master of her own downfall, because she treated Syngin so badly. You're not my soulmate. Disappearing off to Costa Rica, insisting they live in the cold climate, telling the world he's an alcoholic, etc, etc. I think she's lost any goodwill he might have otherwise afforded her. For what it's worth, I think that Tanya did wind the friends up when she lived with them, and she is quite bossy. But I've got a feeling that whoever she was, those friends would never have liked her. They just want giant baby Syngin to be a single drinking friend that they can hang out and have fun with. But I actually think that Syngin should have tamed his friends a little bit and not allowed them to be quite so rude to Tanya. It may be that he's not ready for responsibility, but it's clear those friends want to keep him in perpetual childhood. It's clear that Syngin isn't ready for kids or any responsibility at all. He doesn't appear to be a long-term commitment kind of guy. And the fact that he wants to find a girlfriend who's happy with his drinking tells me he's pretty much the male equivalent of a dead end. He wants to live in the sun and play with his friends, and I think Tanya's on a hiding to nothing. So I think it's a good idea that they've decided 6 months is absolutely it, and they're going to make a decision within that time, because then neither one of them is going to waste any more time. Syngin's living in a country he doesn't want to live in, with a wife he doesn't want to be with, and doing a job it sounds like he doesn't want to do. Tanya should let Syngin fly off and be Batman somewhere else. So guys, tell me what you think. For the first time ever, do we feel sorry for Tanya? Did she get the sharp end of the stick? And is there anything you think she can do with her relationship with Syngin to save it? I'm all out of ideas. I think a divorce is on the cards very soon, and the fact that they both went absolutely silent when Sean said, "Are you considering divorce?" that tells me yes, they really are, very seriously. So let me know in comments down below, and I'll be back very soon with another video. Very quickly, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to press the like button and follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.